Let's make some noise. Come on.
Oh, yes, indeed, Nick Foles. Let's make some noise. Thank you once again, and welcome back, everybody, to the Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network with your not-so-regular host anymore, MattyB, on the call here on my own show that's apparently suffering because of my schedule. I'm back. I'm sorry. I'm here. I made it. No show last night, and I warned you that there probably wouldn't be a show last night, and in fact, there wasn't. I didn't get home till after 11:30. Tonight, I had two other games, but I knocked them out and was able to get back here. They were higher level games, so they went a little faster. $250 in about 2.5 hours. It ain't a bad gig. So I was able to get back, and I'm here, and I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm doing what I got to do, man. I got to put food on the table. And unfortunately, the It's a Wrap Sports Network ain't producing much in the financial realm, but that's yet. Eventually, we'll get there. Welcome back, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Phillies. Man, what the hell's going on, man? I have not. I ain't gonna lie. I've been in and out of the Philadelphia sports scene a lot lately. I haven't been as tuned in as I normally am. And tonight I get coming off the field and I'm trying to catch up, see what happened with the game. Find out they lost 8-3, and then I find out about all this sub-drama about Nick Castellanos' improper comments coming out of the game. Now, the way I understand it, he was replaced by a defensive replacement late in Monday night's game, and he coming off the field into the dugout, said something to Rob Thompson that prompted a benching, ending the 236 consecutive start streak that he had going on. And I guess it was felt as the Phillies were unable to generate anything tonight in Miami against the lowly Miami Marlins, snapping their 5-game losing streak, and also, snapping the Marlins 5-game home losing streak and snapping the Phillies 5-game winning streak in the process. So Phillies 8-3 losers. And then the big backlash to what I've heard in a very brief period of time has been the Rob Thompson backlash. Poor management. Why are you going to suspend a player? Listen, I am all for suspending players for not pulling their weight or not doing things that are beneficial to the team, right? But when a guy like Rob Thompson suspends you, it's almost sort of like, I don't know, it's laughable. All of a sudden Rob's going to get strict. Oh, I don't like the way you said you're going to sit. I mean, how does that come off? Does it come off like Rob Thompson's like grasping at straws and he's going to suspend a player? I mean, and what do you got to say to piss off Rob Thompson? I mean, that's what I want to know. Like, what do you have to actually say to piss off that guy? The guy that let Nick Castellanos putter through the lineup last year, batting close to 100 for about, 3/4 of the season. And then he turns it on finally. He didn't get benched for poor performance, but yet he's going to get benched for what he said. What did he say? Because I want to know. What was said to piss off Rob Thompson to the point where you get benched? So that story's on the table tonight. The Phillies 8-3 loss to the Miami Marlins is currently on the table as well. Anything you want is on the table here on this Tuesday evening. You got me for hopefully a little bit over an hour, and I'm not going to lie to you. Tomorrow night's not looking good either. I ain't going to lie. I'm not sugarcoating it anymore. If things break right for me, I will be back tomorrow for my show. If they don't, I will be back Thursday, but that's on the Fighting's Final. And I don't know, maybe if I don't do a show tomorrow, I'll tell you what I'll do Thursday night is I'll do the Fighting's Final and then roll right into the Final Word. We'll do a double blast of MattyB on Thursday night. I will be back Thursday night for the Fighting's Final. As far as my show, again, if no show happens tomorrow night, we'll roll right into the Final Word after the Fighting's Final. So, again, please be patient. Thank you for your continued patience as I mutter through a very busy summer. And of course, thank you for your patience with this network as we continue to grow things here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Please give it a like, a share, a subscribe, and tell a friend, and have that friend tell a friend. And you know the drill. So let's get into it here. What we got? What we got? Joe Hale checking in. Joe, how are you tonight, my man? What's going on? Oh my God, I found you. I've been checking for weeks. Oh, come on, Barbara. Don't make it sound like I've been MIA for weeks now, man. Every night, Barbara, theoretically, from Sundays to Thursday at 10 p.m. or Sundays to Thursday after the Fightins final is when I will be on. When this show airs religiously, theoretically. Okay. Unfortunately, reality has sort of thrown me a curveball over these last few weeks, and we'll continue to throw that said curveball for the remainder of the summer up to about mid-August. And I'm going to have to kind of dance between the raindrops a little bit, but I am going to make every effort to be on the air at said Sunday through Thursday at 10 p.m. or right after the Fightins final. If, of course, I don't have Fightins final duty. If I have the Fightins final, then there will be no show that night. But I'm trying. It's been tough, man. Been burning the candle on like ends that I didn't even know existed. So please continue your patience. As far as advertising for this show, like building a YouTube before the show comes on, that's a hit or miss as well. If I have the time, yes. If I don't, no. And I'm not going to throw a show up randomly throughout the week and say, yeah, and then not show up. So I'm going to try my hardest, Barbara. I promise 100% I will try my hardest. So please continue being patient and continue checking in. You're one of our more loyal customers. I want to keep you happy. All right. What else we got going on? Barbara checking in again. He didn't get suspended. He just didn't start for the day. Plus, he just let him stay in the other day in a blowout to start pad where he got a grand slam. He didn't get I didn't say he got suspended. He got benched. He got benched, correct? That's what happened through something that he said coming off the field after being removed for a defensive replacement. That's what I understand it to be. Again, I'm catching all this in the fly. So it's just for today, right? He got benched. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't say he got suspended. Apparently he cursed Rob. Again, what do you got to do to piss him off? I mean, it looks like you could set fire to the man and get away with like nothing. What do you got to do to piss Rob Thompson off? And how empty-handed or shallow or fake does it sound or come off to these players when he gets like stern? How do I like equate it? Like, oh yeah, it'd be like a Homer Eagles fan talking negative about Jalen Hurts, right? Would that be kind of what it would be like? It just comes off fake. It comes off unbelievable. And, does that cause problems inside the clubhouse? Does that start issues brooming inside that clubhouse where now you're like, players like, Rob Thompson thinks he's all that in a bag of chips. We'll show him, God damn it. So could this be residual as well? Could this have a long-term effects on a team that's, let's not call it what it is, or let's call it what it is. It's not really all there to begin with. So, I mean, how does that affect this team long-term? I miss you, hon. I know you do your best. Yeah, I do. Off season, not baseball season. I'm yours. Every night I'll be here, but it's been tough, man. It's been tough. Got to make the money. I like the idea for Thursday double dose of Matty. Again, Joe, if I do not get on the air tomorrow night, right now I'm planning on being here, but if I can't, if wherever I'm going to be, which I will be till about typically 9 and home by 10-ish. But if that goes long, which it might, and you never know, these meetings that I go to on this type of thing that I do on this day, sometimes go long. And I can't get back in a reasonable amount of time, I will have a double shot of the Fightins final on Thursday, and then me I will roll right into it. We'll literally do the Fightins final and then throw up the graphic for the final word and roll right into that. So, I'll do a twofer, so to speak. So I promise that. We lost the game, not panicking. It's a long season. Wow, Barbara, is that what you're saying? Is that what you really believe that, Barbara? I don't think you believe that. Barbara, do you and I know you don't. You're trolling me. You're joshing me. You're pulling my lariat. You don't believe that. You don't believe that. Come on, Barbara. I've taught you better than that. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. That sounds like something that Big Al would say. Honestly, it sounds like something that the Excuse Emporium supervisor would say. But we'll definitely broach that topic if you like. I have no problem. But let's get it going, as we do here typically on the program every single night with your day in Philadelphia sports history. Oh, yeah, by the way, let's get it strapped in, strapped on, strap it up, and keep your heads, hands, and feet inside the car at all time. Here we go. Your day in Philadelphia sports history on this day back in 1876. And yes, no, I was not in attendance to this. I was not there. I was not, okay? Participants in the first season of play for Major League Baseball naturally set a lot of records. By season's end, George Hall of the Philadelphia A's had the first single-season home run mark with 5. That's right, folks. 1876, the inaugural season of Major League Baseball. The home run leader of the first season of Major League Baseball was George Hall of the A's with 5. Whew. He fell off the list a long time ago, didn't he? Hall was also the first player to hit 2 home runs in a single game during that same season. So George Hall, whoever the hell that is, had himself a season in the first season of Major League Baseball, and that was on this night, which also prompts a question. That you're telling me that the season, or was it? What was that? Did the season start on this night, or did it end on this night in 1876? I don't know. I guess it's today. I don't know. But anyway, that's what today, your day in Philadelphia sports history is. George Hall set the inaugural single season home run record in Major League Baseball back in 1876 with 5. 5! And that was your day in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by, not that show, brought to you by this show, The Attacking Third, with Steve Fuentes and Pat Bernard every Thursday at 9 here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network, talking everything MLS and Union related. Please join them if you are into the Union or if you'll want to get into the Union. Join Pat and Steve every Thursday single night. Robbie benches Castellanos over disrespect, but Harper don't run out hits and says to Robbie, my bad, that's not disrespect. Uncle Charlie bench Jimmy Rollins. We keep on, everybody seems to always bring that up, the Jimmy Rollins thing. You know, it's sort of like, I get it, but that's what was 20 years ago. I mean, at this point, baseball has changed. Charlie Manuel's not the manager of this team. Jimmy Rollins doesn't play here anymore. It's a different breed of player. And to be honest, this is what the biggest thing for me about this whole situation is. It's not that a player was held accountable for what he said, and that or does or do. Players should be held accountable for what they say and do. 100%. But the problem is Rob Thompson doesn't come off as the disciplinarian type. And when all of a sudden he decides to be one, I think a little bit is lost in translation. And it comes out fake and shallow and placating and just empty-handed, essentially. And I know inside that locker room and inside that clubhouse behind closed doors, they're talking with each other saying, look at this guy growing a set of balls. He's going to suspend one of our own. This might have a boomerang effect in the negative for this team. And that's what happens when you have a player's coach. Now, players' coaches can be disciplinarians too, but I don't think Rob Thompson is anything like that. And has never been like that. Because, as I said, you could probably set fire to the man and not get in trouble for it. And now he wants to come out and, bench a player for a comment that was made. Is Rob Thompson feeling the heat of this season? Is he feeling the heat of his job? Is Dave Dombrowski giving him, a pep talk behind closed doors? And maybe now he's starting to get a little jumpy. That could all be right too. So I just would love to find out. Can I please open the phone? Yes, I will, Joe. I promise. Joe, the open line of communication here that come on into the show is part of this show. It's just right now I don't have like the not that I don't have the patience for it. I just want to make sure it's not on the fly. I want to have good conversation. I want to have solid rapport back and forth. Yes, we will. Once things settle down, and it will settle down a little bit for me. As we move deeper into the summer, things will settle down. I will. The phone lines being open will be is a regular part of the show. going forward, and it will be. And I promise, just be more patient with me on that. Well, I've been around Pat and the guys, but seriously, we've been playing a lot better. Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. So you're telling me all the homerism starting to rub off on you a little bit, Barbara. Do you need a deprogrammer? Have I arrived on the scene just in time? Yeah, I heard Pat the other night. I mean, come on, man. Listen. If anybody, serious Phillies fans who knows one iota about baseball and has followed this team for more than one day throughout this stretch or this era of Phillies baseball, if one of you can look yourselves in the mirror and say, this is a World Series contender, then one of us is not living in a plane of reality. All right. One of us does not exist in the real world. Are they a playoff team? Yes. But I actually look at it with the way MLB has expanded and pushed out the realms of playoffs, where pretty much everybody gets in now, there's a difference between being a playoff team and a World Series contender. It ain't like it was back in the day where you had to win your division and there was only 2 teams per league that made it. Those were World Series contenders. Now it's not like that. Now it's a bunch of playoff teams and a couple World Series contenders that go at it to see who wins the World Series. And the Phillies, in my opinion, and I think and any real Phillies fan who knows what they're talking about, who has an idea and has watched this team over the last 3 seasons, can seriously look at themselves in the mirror and say, no, they're not a World Series contender. We knew this going into the season. They are a playoff team, 100%. And I'm not buying in, well, just wait and see about October. No. October is going to be a disaster for this team as currently constructed, with everything that's wrong with this team. And now you add this thing into it all. We could be seriously heading for a disaster. We could be. It's possible. It's something that could have stayed in house. It wasn't even a known thing until Rob brought it up today. A fine would have been enough. It opens the door for unnecessary. I don't know, Steve. Do you want to? Should we all wrap ourselves in bubble wrap in Steve Fenentez's world? I mean, I'm not saying he benched him, right? I don't know the team policy when it comes to having to communicate internal issues with the team. I don't know if he had to say it or if it would have done more damage if he didn't say it and then it came out, because eventually it would leak out. I'm not buying any of this. No, listen, Rob Thompson handled the situation where he thought he needed to handle it. That's fine. I just think it's empty-handed. I'm the optics of it all. The hell with all that nonsense. You know what? If he says something that was wrong, detrimental to the team, yeah, sit him down, fine him, whatever. But as far as talking about it to the media, I don't know. I don't know what the policy is about any of that. And eventually that would have gotten out. And how the Phillies looked at that point where they're trying to cover something up. I mean, listen, it is what it is. If you're not acting with the best interest of the team in mind, you should sit. And the drama be damned. These are grown ass men, not children. Well, physically they're not children. Yeah, I mean, come on. I disagree with that. Do you prefer Kemp playing first or third? Depends on who's in the lineup with them. Obviously, the way it's set up right now, we don't have you're either going with Bohm or Kemp. So I like to see how Harper and Kemp would work out together in the same lineup. It doesn't matter to me. I don't really care. But the question now remains is Otto Kemp really the answer here? I mean, it doesn't matter to me. Can you do the greatest trade next week again? I can. I'm going to throw one out tonight. The first time permitting at the end, we're going to do our number 7. I did number 8. I did 10, which was what? What was my 10th? The JT trade. My number 9 trade was the Cliff Lee trade. So I will give you my number 8 tonight. We'll do that. We'll do my number 8 tonight. I promise that. Yeah, we'll do number 8 if I have time. If I don't get bogged down with show material. Castellanos must have told Robbie he sucks as a manager, and Robbie couldn't handle the truth. Yeah, I don't think it was that. Maybe it was. Maybe it was that, like with a lot of expletives. I don't know. But what I understand was he was removed Monday late for a defensive replacement, and that's what spurred on the comment. So that's an interesting situation too, because when you have a game in hand, why would you care? Right? Why would you care? But I'd love to know what it was, because again, what do you got to say to piss off Rob Thompson? What do you got to do to piss him off? Because we've seen this over the last couple, 3 seasons now, that it takes a whole hell of a lot to get underneath that man's skin. I mean, he doesn't react at all to stuff that's happening on the field, negatively or positively. He doesn't have anybody's back on the field. You know, he seems like he's like, oh, how's everybody doing? Mr. Monotone. I could not listen to Rob Thompson while driving on a long trip. He put me to sleep. So what would you got to say to piss him up? And what does it sound like when you fire him up? I would love to hear that too. He played third. Barber. Yeah, he played third, but I bounced around a little bit. Actually, they had him in the outfield a couple times too. They had him DHing, you know, but he's a third baseman by trade. Looks like Florida's going to win the Cup again. I saw that, and of course, the Phillies game tonight was pushed forward or pushed up in order for the people of South Florida to enjoy what could look like a repeat of the Stanley Cup championship against the same team they played last year, the Edmonton Oilers. So yeah, it looks like all systems go for the Florida Panthers to repeat. When I say drama, I mean the storyline becomes about the benching, and that was said to Rob instead of what the game was played. Well, you know what? But Steve, I get what you're saying, but they're all symbiotic to each other, because they're going to blame Castellanos for not playing for the loss on the field, and it all kind of ties in together. You know what I mean? Like, the guy's played in the last 236 games, and all of a sudden he's going to sit down. Well, why? What's the reason there? You didn't bench him when he was batting 100. And now you're going to bench him all of a sudden for a mystery reasons. You're going to give him a day off. I mean, I understand what you're trying to say. Steve, you want to stay away from any kind of drama. You just want everyone to focus on the eye of the prize, which is winning or games and playing hard, whatever. I get it, but we got a right to know, right? And sometimes a little drama is a good thing. Again, these people are not wrapped in bubble wrap, right? These are human beings that should and can have a little blow up from time to time. Now, again, what does this mean though? Because it kind of comes out of nowhere, right? I mean, there's no real rhyme or reason around this whole situation. Is it the first negative thing that's ever been said to Rob Thompson in 3 years behind that bench? Probably not. But all of a sudden, this one set him over the edge. What was said? I want to know. And what does it mean? Maybe Nick said Canadian beer sucks. Maybe said Canada sucked. Good point, Michael Papernick. Well, anyway, back to what was happening on the field. And by the way, the aforementioned Steve Fuentes with the Fightins final tonight. 8-3, Phillies with the loss. And then overshadowed in all this is, of course, the poor performance of yet another offensive lame duck effort by the Phillies. And which has, again, you know, they win 5, and here we go. We're right back into it. But what was some of the headlines for this team offensively? 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position. They left 5 on base. Didn't ground in any double plays. Oh, that's good. Good for them. Phillies did hit a home run tonight. Trey Turner remains red hot. Again, MattyB called that one right, too. Trey Turner should have been leading off this whole damn time. But now we got, you know, I've been keeping this tracker about the leadoff carousel between Bryson Stott, Trey Turner, and Kyle Schwarber. And this is, again, the part of the problem with the Phillies. And you know, we're going to write the epilogue or epitaph of this season long from now, you know, and it's getting closer. We're over 70 games in. But when we write and we talk about this season at the end, and of course, we don't know how it's all going to wrap up, but the lack of routine And maybe that's the problem. Maybe the players are sick of it. Maybe the players are sick of the lack of routine. I stopped tracking this a few games back. Well, actually, quite a bit of games ago. But I think I was about 48 games into the season, and I was keeping an eye on this stat. The Phillies had only gone with the same lineup in 2 consecutive games, or in consecutive games, meaning 2 or 3, 6 times through 48 games. That's oh my God. You know, I know growing up in baseball, when I grew up, baseball is a sport of routine. And this team, obviously, with the way they run their bullpen, it's not a routine. And the way they run their lineups is not a routine. Now, not barring from tonight's games, I don't have tonight's stats, but I can throw it in there easily. But Trey Turner has now led off 25 times in 2025. Bryson Stott has led off 37 times, and Kyle Schwarber has led off 9 times. That is the essence of instability and the essence of inconsistency. How can players, and yes, baseball players are the most routine creatures on the face of the earth, but how can players not or perform at their maximum output when they're not given a consistent opportunity to perform it in a consistent role? Everyone wants to try to bang their head against the wall and say, why is the bullpen struggled, or why is the bullpen inconsistent? Because the bullpen is a definition of the word inconsistency. There's no roles. So players don't know from night to night what they're going to get ready for. But why aren't we just screaming at the gates about this? It's suicide for this team, the way they've been running their bullpen and the way they've been running their lineup all season with all this change. But now Trey Turner's hot. Now Trey Turner gets to lead off until he cools off. And then I don't know who else is going to lead off at that point. You got to be more consistent, man. Rob Thompson's got to be more consistent. He's got to get something and stick with it. Because I don't think this team has shown its max potential. And one of the reasons why is because it hasn't been given an opportunity to. Call it an excuse. I don't think it's an excuse. I think it's baseball. It's baseball. Or a baseball-ism. Routine. Consistency. A player needs to know every day, hey, I'm batting 4th. I'm batting 1st. I'm batting 9th. I'm batting boom, boom. I can get comfortable. I know the guy in front of me. I know that I can see the balls that Kyle Schwarber gets thrown as I'm in the on-deck circles. I know, hey, Schwarber's coming up, so this is going to happen to me. It is not that hard. It's been going on since 1876, but apparently the Phillies in 2025 want to change it all and expect analytics, that's what it all comes down to run the day. And maybe the players are tired of it. Maybe the players are tired of the inconsistency of the lineup. Maybe the players are tired with the inconsistency of the clubhouse or inconsistency of the way this team is run. And maybe they're starting to kind of rebel a bit. Maybe Nick Castellanos is the first crack in the dam when it comes to the way Rob Thompson mismanages his team on a night-to-night basis. So again, I asked the question, if you're a real Phillies fan and you have been watching this team for last 3 years, and you have been aware of what's happening with this team for the last 3 seasons, can you look yourself in the mirror and honestly say this is a World Series contender? You can't. Without lying to yourself, of course. The Phillies are set up to win the next 2 Marlins games and maybe sweep the Mets, who have no pitchers left and are playing minor league pitchers in the lineup. Yeah, I mean, well, don't count them before they're hatched. I mean, I don't think people went into this series thinking that the Phillies were going to lose any of the games, and now they got kind of blown out tonight. So, yeah, I don't think we should count our chickens. Never say never with the Phillies, Barbara. You never know. They're due now for the downslide of it, right? They've had a 5-game winning streak. Now let's follow that up with a 5-game losing streak. Isn't that how this thing works? So never say never. But I hear what you're saying. The Mets are definitely clinging the first place in the NL East. Stott is playing hurt. Stott is playing crappy too. How bad is the Phillies outfield situation that Marsh is in left and Rojas is in center, both playing at the same time? And that's another problem, man. You're right, man. But again, that is not Rob Thompson's fault. He didn't put the roster together. I'm not going to blame Rob Thompson for why Johan Rojas is still playing for this team. I'm not going to blame him for why Brandon Marsh is still here. We know why Brandon Marsh is still here, because Dave Dombrowski doesn't want to look like he fucked up with that trade, right? That's the bottom line. The bottom line is we know it's a bad trade. Everybody that's hell, the Angel fans know it was a great trade We know it was a bad trade. Everybody in baseball knows it was a bad trade, unless you're an Angels fan. But Dave Dombrowski knows it was a bad trade. But Dave Dombrowski doesn't want to lose face by saying, Brandon Marsh, you got to go. I guarantee you, in any situation other than what the situation is that landed Brandon Marsh here in Philadelphia, if he was still playing in LA, never got traded, he would not be with the Angels anymore at this point. They would have DFA'd him a while ago. They would have sent him back down. He'd be gone. He would not be playing on the major league roster. But because Dave Dombrowski parted with a catching prospect that is a real deal catcher at the major league level, we got to hang on to Brandon Marsh well past his expiration date, because Dave Dombrowski doesn't want to look foolish. And that's what that's all about. As far as with Yohan Rojas, I've never understood why he still is here either. Is he batting better? Yes, but he's not an elite defender. He's a bonehead baseball player. He makes mistakes at the wrong possible times every single game that it seems that he plays in. Again, I but you need someone to back up Marsh. I don't know. Justin Crawford can't get here fast enough, and whatever. But the outfield, again, it wasn't like this was something that was like, oh my God, we have a problem in center field. Where did that come from? Yeah, we knew about this heading into the offseason. And what was done about it? Nothing. We knew the center field position was a mess heading out of the 2024 season and did nothing, absolutely nothing in the offseason. So why should anybody look or sound shocked? And that falls on your GM, not your president, because the GM doesn't have any power. But why does Sosa never play anymore? Stott is a seasonal something. Yeah, at what point? Well, you know what? Again, you're looking at Edmundo Sosa to be your, I don't know. The hell, that Rob Thompson didn't play him when he was red hot back in the beginning of the season every day. You think he's going to bring him in cold? But the Stott situation has kind of risen to a point. What are you doing with him? Do you give up on Bryson Stott, a draft pick, homegrown talent? I don't know. The Phillies are a mess. I mean, they're a mess. Absolute mess. The only thing they are consistent is at losing when it matters most. Yeah, they are. That's about the only thing they're consistent at. No, they're not even consistent at that, Steve, because they'll win 9 out of 10. Then they'll lose 9 out of 10. And it all goes back to square one or square zero. They're not even consistent when it comes to losing. They can't do anything consistently. So the Phillies made Schwarber an offer that is being reported, not an embarrassing offer, but it was, that's not getting done. Yeah, I don't think it's getting done either. They missed their mark on that. And I don't blame the Phillies for Kyle Schwarber situation. I don't. You take your swings at that. But I would love Dave Dombrowski to read the room with this whole thing with Schwarber. And if it does look like he is not going to come back, then yeah, I'd say move him at the trade deadline. I would. Because I want to recomp something. Maybe a little backdoor, like, hey, Kyle, we're going to trade you in the end of July, but we want to talk to you about a new contract at the end of the season. And maybe Kyle Schwarber does that for the good of the team. You know what I mean? That would be nice. That he takes one for the team there. Especially if it's not looking like we're going to do anything. Kyle Schwarber, we're going to trade you, but please, we want to talk to you in the offseason about bringing you back. The Phillies might have missed their boat a little bit. He might feel a little personally slighted by that too. And I don't blame him either. They didn't have his back. Now all of a sudden he's playing well and they want, I don't know. There could be some loyalty issues there too. But I would be extremely surprised if Kyle Schwarber was re-signed in season by the Phillies. He's not going to do it. He's going to let the chips fall where they may. And he's going to test free agency. And I honestly don't think he's coming back. I think he's going to end up back in Chicago with the Cubs. That's what I'm thinking. 5-0. Oh, that's almost done. They are consistently inconsistent. Well, Schwarber has been on 4 teams already. Yeah, and I think he's going to go back to the Cubs. That's where I think he's headed. All right, so Phillies lose 8-3 tonight. They are now still involved in that series. 2 more games left with the Marlins over the next 2 nights. And here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network, we got you covered. Steve had you tonight. Mike Laro will be going tomorrow, and I have you on Thursday. So stay tuned. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here, and we promise. Make sure you're checking it out. So in the Titans final every single night after every single Phillies game. Do I think Harper will go to Dombrowski and ask him to sign Schwarber? I don't know. I don't think it's that easy anymore. I don't know if they have the money, man. I mean, we talked about this the other night with the Rafael Devers situation, with the trade of Devers. Not necessarily bringing a Devers here, but, we've seen a team now trade for a significant cornerstone piece in season. Why aren't the Phillies doing anything? And as far as Harper going to Dombrowski to ask him to sign Schwarber, I don't think so. I don't know how much power he has on that anymore. And I don't know how much power he really ever had on that. And I don't know how much money John Middleton has left to spend. I don't know, man. And I really hope that I hope it ain't like that. I hope that's not the way the system's set up for the Phillies, where Bryce Harper can barge into Dombrowski's office, put his feet up on his table, on his desk, and say, all right, Dave, this is who I want. I hope it's not like that, man. Because if it is, we got bigger problems to talk about on this team. That would be terrible. It'd be absolutely terrible. But talking about terrible, well, not terrible. Let's just discuss a little bit. Let's get into our other night segment, because we reached a milestone here on the program, and I want to tell you about it here in a second. All right, so yeah, we have reached a milestone here on the program, and it is with the of the night segment, and it's with the MLB draft. We finally have reached the end of our player profiles for this year's MLB draft. Just in the nick of time, the MLB 2025 player draft will commence over All-Star weekend. Well, prior to All-Star week, like on that Sunday, right before All-Star week. It's like the kickoff of All-Star festivities. I don't like that. I think it should be back in June where it belongs, but they moved it a few years back and they're sticking with it. So the Phillies will pick 26th overall in this year's draft. We talked about some players, maybe some players who I think they should go after. We will, as soon as I finish this player tonight, this prospect, we will then discuss night to night who I think at 26, the Phillies should go after. Luke Stevenson was my number one choice, the catcher out in North Carolina. I think that's who the Phillies should target, but we will target a few players as we move closer to the draft and talk about where they would make sense for the Phillies at 26 in this year's draft. Not an overly deep draft. First round talent for pitching, other than Seth Hernandez, who is the consensus best pitcher in this draft. Of course, Ethan Holiday, is the number one. Now he's kind of fallen out of consensus. Number one overall pick. Oh, and by the way, it is final. The Florida Panthers have defeated the Edmonton Oilers, and they are the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. So the Panthers go back-to-back. Wow. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So we'll talk more and more about the draft as it pertains specifically to the Phillies from this point forward. But tonight, we're going to finish up with our prospects, and that is Eli Willits, the shortstop from Fort Cobb, Broxton, Oklahoma. Definitely sounds like a name that would come from a place called Fort Cobb, Broxton, Oklahoma. But Eli Willits, the shortstop, a switch hitter who's more proficient from the left. Willits is exceedingly polished at the plate for his age. He's a high schooler. He has outstanding bat-to-ball skills, making consistent line drive contact while rarely straying from the strike zone. He may never have more than an average raw power, but his hitting ability should enable him to tap into most of it and provide. So, shortstop prospect at a high school, potentially mid first round, 18 through 25 is where he might fall. Little undersized at 5'10". I don't like that. But definitely has sort of a Bryson Stott-esque-ness to him. He's not quite grown into himself yet, but he will. Again, he's a project player at 17 or 18 now at this point. But you know what? If you want to stock your shelves full of shortstops, Eli Willits definitely presents that, and he is, as I said, a power hitting shortstop, which is a interesting thing, but at the high school level. Does that translate to the pro game? He is not committed to college right now. He is not committed, and so he potentially would probably go pro right away. And he's going to be a long, long stretch and a long march through the minor leagues for him. But Eli Willits is it, man. We've got to the end of my 2025 MLB draft prospects. We started this back in January? It was a while ago. Finally reached the end, and now we can start targeting specific players the Phillies might be going after. I did Luke Stevenson the other night, and then going forward, that's what we'll do. So I hope you enjoyed that. Done with the draft prospects, man. Wow. Where am I at? Schwarber walks. Who protects Harper next season, and where do the Phillies get 38 home runs at Schwarber average? Pete Alonso. Harper goes to DH. Alonso goes to first. Voila. Problem solved. I don't know, man. I don't know. He's going to be looked at that way. Alonso's only got a 1-year deal with the Mets, right? It's a player option or club option, or it's a player option, right? So cross our fingers for Pete Alonso and move Harper to a full-time DH, which is where he's headed anyway, right? Bryce Harper's headed to the bench as a full-time DH at some point, especially now he's having elbow, shoulder problems, whatever the case may be. That's the next step for Harper, right? They've already moved him out of the outfield to protect him. Now the next step would be move him onto the bench and make him a DH. So Pete Alonso would be my my suggestion. I'm tired of Bryce Harper. Yeah, Bryce Harper, it's not been good, man. It's not been good for a few years. Phillies need to draft a right-handed power hitting outfielders. Barbara, we talked about this earlier the other night. There's some right-handed hitting outfield depth within the system right now. You know, there's a kid, obviously. We talked about him the other night. Keith Anthony. He's rocketing up through our minor league system right now. He's not a righty; he's a lefty. But I hear you. But we are so devoid of catching prospects outside of Eduardo Taiit, and I believe what's his name? The kid that's in he's in the FCL. Farabis, I believe his name is. There is nothing. I mean nothing else in the system. Barbara, we have nothing in the catching realm. Painfully barren when it comes to catching prospects in this organization. Jordan Disson, Caleb Ricketts, they're up a little bit higher up in the minor leagues, but they're struggling. Somehow Caleb Ricketts found his way from Double-A down to High A this year, or to Low A. I'm sorry, he's with Clearwater. I don't know how that happened. He's struggling. Jordan Disson's a fixture with the Reading Fightins, but he can't seem to move any further than that. We don't have any catching potential in this organization right now. And I think at 26, if you got the best catcher on the board, which is Luke Stevenson, I think you take him. I really do. You got to start giving more options at that position, because we're going to find ourselves in the same situation that we were when Logan O'Hoppe left, which of course was terrible. Florida won the Cup. Yep, I already said that. Congratulations to the Florida Panthers. Do I think Harper's, if healthy, can give us 30? No, I think those days are over, man. I think those days are over for Harper. I don't think he's more than a 25 home run a year guy. And I think 25 and like 80. I think his 100 RBI seasons are over. I think Harper's best days are behind him. And I think it's going to be a shot to the friggin' collective psyches of every Philadelphia Philly fan out there, starting with the injury problems that he started having a couple seasons ago. Mind you, this is not the beginning of it, right? The beginning of it was Tommy John. Now we're getting more and more. Now they're more and more prevalent. I think the end of Harper is started. I think the downfall of Bryce Harper has begun. Now, how long that actually goes, and does he fall off a cliff or does he glide down the side? I don't know. But I think we've seen the best days of Bryce Harper already. And now we're going to be left with what remains. And that's not going to be good. Yeah, good point. We definitely need catcher prospects because of that bonehead trade. We do. We don't have anything other than Two guys in the lower levels of our minor league system. And that's terrible, man. That's like negligent. That's all the catching prospects we have. It's bad. It's real bad. But there you go. The other night segment. So let's give Joe Hale what he wants. Let's talk about my greatest trades of all time in Phillies history. We started this the other night or other week. I don't know. It's been like 2 weeks ago. I got through 10 and 9. 10 being the JT Realmuto Marlins for Sixto Sanchez trade. I think that was one of the 10th best trade in Phillies history. Then I talked about the Cliff Lee deal, bringing him from Cleveland here, which we ended up giving up a bunch of prospects that never made any noise at all in Major League Baseball, with the exception, of course, of Carlos Carrasco. Tonight, we'll get over on number 8. I'm going to go with a lesser trade, but from that same era. It's funny how some of these trades always correlate with like winning, you know. I'm going to talk. My number 8 is bringing John Kruk. John Kruk in 1989, getting traded from the San Diego Padres to the Phillies in exchange for Chris James. You guys remember that move? Chris James was, I think, an outfielder, utility guy, pinch hitter, late inning guy. And we ended up getting Kruk for him, which, of course, Kruk over the next, we all know what John Kruk did and was part of. And I think it was the first trade of that time. You got to remember, and I remember it well. The Phillies were terrible in the mid 80s, late 80s. Then with the start of the Kruk trade, and the Phillies did like 3 trades that summer of 89. And I don't want to give away any more of the trades because some of them might be on my list later down the line. But it was a very instrumental summer for me and the Phillies going forward, which would eventually lead to the 93 team. And some pieces from that 93 team were picked up in the summer of 89 with some real shrewd trades that the Phillies made. And I thought the first one that kind of sort of picked them up and began to, point them in the way of winning was the John Kruk trade, bringing him here from San Diego. Now, Kruk was really not much of anything, very inconsistent, hard to keep in the lineup. Played outfield, played first base, was bounced all over by the San Diego Padres. Never really kind of lived up to his potential with San Diego. And the Phillies gave away a proven commodity, not a great commodity, but a proven major league commodity in Chris James, and got Kruk, which a lot of people thought at the time was a terrible trade by the Phillies, but it ended up being one of the best, the 8th best trade, in my opinion, in Phillies history. So there you go. Number 8, John Kruk, getting traded from the San Diego Padres to the Philadelphia Phillies for Chris James back in the summer of 89. It was like in June. I don't know the exact date. It was in June of 89. And there you go. There's my number 8. So I hope you enjoyed that, Joe. I goosed it a little bit for you. Do I think Turner could play second base and let Miller play shortstop? I would actually reverse that. So you got to understand too, Michael Papernick. Aiden Miller's a third baseman by trade. They've converted him to shortstop. He came out of college as a third baseman. So if you can do that, yeah, I would probably move Trey Turner over to second and I would put Miller at short. If that's what we're going to do, yeah, I would do that. Absolutely. In order to kind of fix this. But Aiden Miller, again, we're talking like the Phillies are a rebuilding type team. Aiden Miller is not going to be here for 2 more years. Aiden Miller will not be in this town until 2027. Mark my words. He ain't coming until 2027. What are we going to do till then? Endorse Stott? But yeah, I think that would work. Kruk actually played left. Yes, he did. And I have a card actually of him. We'll get to it. I got a few John Kruk baseball cards, and one of them is from his Dodger days. Matter of fact, I have his rookie card from 87. 87 Topps. In the 87 Topps set, John Kruk's rookie card exists. With cards, perfect segue to my favorite time of the night. Yeah, MattyB's card review returns as it does every single night here on the program. Tonight, we are going to talk about a former Philly. That's right, man. A former Phillies player, who I thought was sneaky good when he was here. Played here from 82 to 85 with the Phillies, but his career started actually in the late 70s. He was drafted. And And this baseball card of his is his 82 card, which was, of course, pulled from the 81 season. So it's not a Phillies card, but it's a former Phillies icon. Yeah, I'm going to call him what he is, man. Growing up, I thought he was pretty good. And that's John Denny. That's it. And this is his 82 tops. And, of course, you can see him wearing his Cleveland Indian duds. Denny was property of the Indians, drafted by the Indians and brought up through the system. Or, I'm sorry, he was drafted by the Cardinals. Oh, I apologize. And in 82, he was already in the league for almost 8 years. I was thinking about somebody else. Cardinals, his first season in Major League Baseball was in 74. So bounced around a little bit, but was a steady player for the Phillies back in the 80s as we were kind of going through a transition with our rotation. But Denny on his career was 123 and 108. That's pretty good. Career ERA of sub 360, 3.59. Over 1,100 strikeouts. He won the NLCS Cy Young Award winner with the Phillies in 83. He was the NL wins leader in 83 as well. Now, of course, 83 was the final year of prominence for the Phillies. And so he was a pivotal member of that. And he was the NL ERA leader back in 76 with the Cardinals. Time with St. Louis Cardinals, Indians, Phillies, and then finished up with the Reds in 86 before calling it a career. So not a long career for John Denny, but I thought an impactful one. Really, I thought when he was here was very good and was part of a rotation that was going through some transition at that time. And I thought he made things a lot better than they could have been, or they could have been a lot worse without John Denny. And tonight we are featuring his card from 82. And it's always cool to have a card from the wax era of the early 80s, late 70s. I really liked the designs and the way they went with these cards back at this era. Now, Topps had a thing with this in 80. If you guys had the 80 Topps set, they had these cards with the autographs on them. They did it in 80, and it was really popular, where every card had the player's autograph on it. They did not do it in 81, and they went back to it in 82. And this is what Denny's card looks like in 82. Card is not necessarily worth much, $3. I found it for just about $3, but I like the design of the 82 Topps, and I always like the autos. I really do. Now, it's funny because it's not a real autograph. It's not live ink. It's obviously it's part of the card design. So when you try to sell this card, be careful. People are probably, when they say it's autographed, then there better be live ink on it next to this autograph, because the autograph that's on it is not live ink. But I like the design of the 82 Topps, and tonight's card is John Denny, and there you go. So I'll show you my actual John Denny right here. There it is. There's my card. I got a pretty good version of this, pretty good condition card, probably about an 8, maybe 7.5. About $3. So there you have it. Tonight's card of the night, or card review, is the 82 John Denny with the Phillies, or with the Indians, actually. And in 82 was the first year he was a Philly, but he was insane. John Denny in 83 won the, yes, he did. Yep. And he was a pivotal member of that 83 rotation. I thought he might have been more important than Steve Carlton in 83 for the Phillies, as they made one last run at World Series glory. Speaking of one last runs at World Series glory, that's going to be it for me tonight, guys. Came in, did a good show, I thought. Thank you for being patient with me. I do apologize for some of the irregularity, the inconsistencies of the final word with MattyB. And I guess if the Phillies can do it, hell, I can do it too. But I will try to be more consistent. I am not committing to a show tomorrow night. I am saying that there could be one, and I'm saying that there couldn't be one. You have to kind of stay tuned. I am aiming for one, but it might not happen. But Thursday night will happen. Thursday night, I am back for the Fightins final, and we'll roll right into the final word if I don't come on the air tomorrow. So I will try to give you as much as I can. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. So I want to thank everybody for joining in. I hope you guys enjoyed your rest of your night. And the Phillies lose 8-3. Nick Castellanos benched for, I guess, cursing out his manager for some odd reason. I'd like to know what he said. And what does this mean? Is this the start? Is Rome beginning to fall? And is this the beginning of it? And we'll have to find out. And we will. Till we talk again, you guys have a good rest of your night and even better tomorrow. I'll see you.